Okay, now this is chapter 36 of the book of Genesis. Um, Not one that's super exciting on this one, but there's some things we can learn from this. So we're going to go into a little bit of the description here, because if you remember, chapter 35, Isaac died. Esau and Jacob were reconciled with each other. Remember, they came back again together when Isaac passed away, and so now we're actually chapter 36 is the descendants of Esau. So we're going to get a little glimpse into the descendants that Esau has. We've heard a lot about Jacob, but now we're going to take a little bit of time to talk about the descendants of Esau. So let's go through this because there's some historical context, some little nuggets of information that we get out of this. So verse 1, these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Now, Edom is in the Bible dictionary. You can go look up Edom. You remember in earlier chapters of Jacob, or Genesis, excuse me, that we hear about this, basically. So the land of Edom, which is where Seir is, which is where Esau dwelt. This is an important thing. Now Esau, verse 2 here, excuse me, took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Ada the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah the daughter of Anna the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite. So Hittites and Hivites, there is a distinction in there in this, but they're probably very related to each other. Now realize this is the land of Canaan. Okay, so this is a little bit more in the not necessarily Jerusalem itself, but like that whole area that we would call, Syria, northern Israel, all that whole area up there, basically. There were some Hittites that also came from up in closer to Turkey area, a little bit on the eastern side of Mesopotamia. Some scholars believe that those were actually two groups. Maybe they were related, but not necessarily. They're two groups of Hittites, basically. So we learn here about, who, and Bashemah, Ishmael's daughter. So Ishmael had a daughter. Remember, Ishmael is the oldest son of Abraham. Okay. So Ishmael's daughter basically comes together here. So it's really interesting because as we look at this, there's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they kind of keep their family heritage together. But these other sons of these people, like Ishmael, Esau, and them, they kind of keep themselves together as well to an extent. And then they mix with the descendants of Ham also. And this is just from a genealogical or historical standpoint interesting, because this is part of Ham's heritage, son of Noah, and Shem's heritage, who's the son of Noah who had the priesthood. But those parts that didn't get the priesthood, like Ishmael and them, they are mingling together. And this is where we get a lot of the Arab groups. Okay, those tribes that we would call the Arab nations, Arab people, Palestinians, and others like that are coming from this group, basically. So that's what we have here, this intermingling of these other groups out of Abraham with the children of Ham, the Canaanites and Hittites, and them all kind of merged together, and those lineages come together, basically, is what we're learning about at this time. And then we hear, of course, about Esau, the sons of Esau, which were born unto him in the land of Canaan. Esau took his wives, sons, and daughters, and all the persons of his house. This is verse 6. And his cattle and all his beasts and all his substance, which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went to the country from the face of his brother Jacob. For the riches were more than they might dwell together. And the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. So Esau had so much wealth and so much cattle and land and things that he couldn't live in this certain land. So he had to move to go to another place. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. So when we hear of Edomites and Seir, there's a mountain that's in there. And so Edom is, if you look that up, you can see some of the map, or you hear about that in history. That is Esau and his descendants, basically, the Edomites. And we're going to hear more about them later. Remember, Edomites are the descendants of Esau, okay, the brother of Jacob. So verse 10, these are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Adah, the wife of Esau, Reuel, the son of Bashemath, the wife of Esau. Remember Bashemath? We just learned about that a few verses ahead, that Bashemath is the daughter of Ishmael. So this is something that you got to realize. This is kind of strange. So, okay, Ishmael is the oldest son of Jacob. So Ishmael and Isaac are brothers, right? Remember that? So Bashemath is the daughter of Ishmael, okay? So she is a cousin to Esau, and she became Esau's wife, basically. And so now they're going to go through these names. The sons of Eliphaz, Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, Kenaz, and Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, basically. So Eliphaz had a wife and a concubine, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Ada, Esau's wife, as well. So we're getting these names. What's fascinating is some of these names have some Egyptian origin to them, and what's fascinating is the word Amalek is interesting in here as well, because Amalek, there's another similar name pulled in the Book of Mormon called Amulek. Remember, he is the missionary companion to Alma the Elder when he's going to the Zoramites, the people who used to be righteous and then became secular and wicked and eventually turned and joined with they persecuted Alma and Amulek and kicked them out, you remember? And Alma had to flee for his life, and the angel had to tell him to go back, and that's when he met Amulek, and they prophesied and discussed things, you know, and the Zoramites later eventually went with the Lamanites and caused all kinds of battles later on. But the word Amalek is there, so we can see some influence in some of these names that happen here. So the Book of Mormon actually uses some of these ancient proper names and ideas, which we also see in Egypt and other places as well. So you realize the Book of Mormon people had the brass plates, which had all this information. The brass plates probably contained the 5 books of Moses, as well as the history of the tribes of the kings and everything else. Okay, they had everything up to probably around the book of Jeremiah, because Jeremiah was alive at the time. He didn't have his writings compiled into the ancient scriptures at the time yet. So they had Isaiah. They had up to those areas, basically, is what the Book of Mormon people had. So there are some proper names that are being utilized in here as well, which is great. So these are let's see. So we go down through these Esau's wives. He had several wives. And some of these names come up again. Duke Korah, Duke Gatam. These are the dukes. These are like his sons that kind of became small rulers underneath Esau's greater kingdom. Kind of a thing here, basically, as they grow and improve. They dwell in the land of Edom. That's this whole area where so remember, when you ever hear Edom and Edomites, they're talking about this heritage from the tribes of Esau, who intermarried with Ishmaelites and pulled all this together. So this is the heritage of the Arabic nations, as they also combined with the Hittites, which are the land of Canaan, who had most of the Mesopotamia as well. There's some intermingling going on that's parallel to keeping the family line that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob keep, basically, where the priesthood goes through them, but then the rest of the heritage of the family line stays, kind of intermingles with these groups. So just some interesting little things that we get here. So verse 31, these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom before there reigned any king over the children of Israel. So remember, they take over the area, basically. Jacob, again, is this wandering city, wandering dwellings, and they kind of go off a ways. So Esau and Jacob go off in their own ways. They're both wealthy. They can't dwell in the same land, because you have to have so much land for your animals. And when you have lots of animals, you need more land. So they had to go away from each other. But then there's just kind of gives a little bit more understanding of what else is happening a little bit with some of these people here, basically. So we get a little bit of stories in here as well, like in verse 35, and Husham died, and Hadad, the son of Bedad, who smote Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead, and the name of the city was Avith. So they tell us that this guy Hadad smote Midian in the field of Moab. So there's a little bit of a historical nugget given to us right there of something that happened, but it doesn't give us a lot of context, just kind of mentions it basically. So there's still things that are going on. And so we kind of go through this, and Samalah died, and Saul of Rehoboth by the river reigned in his stead. Kind of going through, okay, who's the king, who's going on, but we're not getting a lot here, basically. So this is, again, talking about the Edomites, and Esau is the father of the Edomites. So that's just important to remember, because we see them come back again later on in the Old Testament. Those are the descendants of Esau, remember, and they intermingled with Ishmaelites and the Canaanites, and kind of brought that group together. So not a ton, not an exciting chapter, but still some things to talk about in there. So thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying these videos. Like the videos if you are, share them with your friends if you like them as well, and we'll see you in the next chapter.